All right, so for the first part, can you please explain a little bit about yourself for those who don't know who you are?
Absolutely. My name is Eli Tokash, and I have been in a few Broadway shows that I've been in Finding Neverland, Pippin, and then I did the tour of Mary Poppins. I did A Christmas Story at Madison Square Garden, and then I was in the world premiere of Trevor, the musical, where I played Trevor in the out-of-town tryout, leading it to its off-Broadway run and the filmed run that you all may be familiar with on Disney Plus. And now I host my own theater podcast called Take a Bow. And so I have a bunch of my former cast members and friends that I've worked with on to chat about the industry and chat about their careers and really celebrate them as human beings because we know them as their characters. So yeah.
That's awesome. And as we were saying earlier, it's crazy because you said you and Trevor, and it's you look you up and you're so much smaller, and
Yeah,
it's so crazy how long ago that was.
truly. And it feels like it was so long ago, but I was probably 15 or 16, so it was really only like 6 years ago, I want to say. And that's when my voice changed. My voice changed super late, and I had a major growth spurt through the voice change. And it's crazy now trying to relearn the voice. It's still something that I'm working on.
If you wouldn't have gone to a ghost, but would you have stayed with Trevor?
It was really the voice change. I think that the growth spurt wasn't a big deal, but it was really the voice change. I couldn't sing the notes anymore.
And I mean, it's a role meant for a middle school. It takes place in a middle school, so
Right. Yeah, so I don't know, but I obviously like the people in Trevor at the time, they were still kind of my height. So I don't think that the growth spurt was a big deal, but I definitely think the voice change
yeah,
did not help things.
yeah. So what got you into theater?
So I got into theater because of my sister. We live close to Pittsburgh. So she saw an ad in our local newspaper in West Virginia saying that they were looking for orphans for the touring production of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, which in every city that they went to, um, had local kids play the orphans. And so she auditioned and she got it. And I was just like blown away the first time I saw it. I was on the way back from a hockey tournament in Buffalo. And we made it like just in time for her opening night. And literally at intermission, it was one of those moments where, you just look to your parents and you're like, I want to do this. Like it's just like something just clicked. And especially like with that show, like the cast, would come into the audience. And of course, like we had never been to the theater and we were so excited for my sister. So like my family got like the front row tickets and like all of that. Like, so we were so up close and we were like, this is so cool. And they came through our row and I was like, this is awesome. And everyone's laughing and smiling. Like, I want to make people do that. And so we were asking people in the cast of like, how do we get involved? How do we start out? And they pointed us to the CLO Academy, and that's where everything started.
That's awesome. And so, you have a podcast as well, Take a Bow, as you mentioned. So, what made you want to get started in that podcast? Like, what made you want to begin in the podcast industry?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the podcast industry, a lot of times in my episodes, I feel like my podcast is a performance still. And it's still like, entertaining others and people are learning and getting, tips of the industry and everything. So it was really during the pandemic where I was like not doing enough creatively to where like I was feeling unfulfilled and I was like I need to do something creatively and I need to find a new outlet and I want to continue learning and understanding my skills and myself even a little bit better. And then of course I was like I also everyone in the theater industry was like I miss, just being with people and talking theater and like doing all these things because theater was not happening at the time. So like during the pandemic, everyone was like, "Hey, can I come on? Let me come on!" Like, so it just became a celebrated thing that kind of caught fire with my friends, and everyone was kind of interested, which made me feel very special. And then people started listening, and I was like, wow, this is something really cool. And people are actually enjoying it. So I guess I'll continue it. And here we are almost 210 episodes later.
I mean, you do all sorts of episodes, all sorts of actors, some smaller than others. Like I know you've had Ben Platt, Jordan Fisher, and then you've had some who are not well known to others. And so it's cool seeing the range of actors you have. And I mean, it was also cool seeing a live episode be done when I saw it at BroadwayCon. That was also super cool. So,
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming to that, by the way. But yeah, it's super fun because like everyone has their own stories, right? And just because I was in Pippin with, and now she is like this star. And in Pippin, she was an understudy. So like everyone in this industry that makes it to Broadway, the highest level that you could get to as a theater performer, is so talented, and everyone has their obstacles thrown in their way to make it to Broadway. And, they all still have incredible talent and such wonderful stories that some of the episodes with the lesser known people are stories that I enjoy even more than people like Ben Platt, because Ben Platt there's so much to talk about where it's like you're so focused on, how was Dear Evan Hansen and how's this, where you can't really get into like the personal stuff that you can get into with someone that's done just one Broadway show. And so the conversation just kind of flows into their lives and their stories of, how they made it and stuff like that. So it's fun. It's great to see just the wide array of talents in this industry.
and you also do in-person press for opening nights too, correct? Like you
Yeah.
do that. So that's also cool because you're live in front of them. There's not a screen in between you guys.
And those are definitely more fun because, as you know, I mean, we've started, and I'm not having the best Wi-Fi today, so we're having some delays already. And so just being in person with people and actually meeting them and like seeing them again, every week, because it seems like a new show opens all the time, especially in lead up to the Tony Awards and everything like that. You just become friends with them, and it's just a really cool experience to just get to chatter with them instead of something like this where you can't really get to know someone as well when you're on Zoom or whatever it may be, because you're like, oh, I have to hurry up and have to get it on time.
I mean, it's also crazy, as you said, with so many shows opening nowadays. We already have half of the season planned for the 24-25 season. There's Boop, there's the Stranger Things show. There's so many opening nowadays that it's starting to overpopulate.
It really, and it's sad to see it, to be completely honest with you, because it means so many shows are closing and so many shows are having short life cycles. Um, and it's just something that I am so passionate about, continuing this theater podcast because it's bringing accessibility to the theater and to talk about shows that sometimes aren't talked about at all. And some people don't even know what it is. And that's why it's not lasting long. So to be able to bring those stories to life and continue to give it a life afterwards, because, like I said, you could go listen to an episode from 2020 and that episode is going to be completely different to an episode in 2024. So it's a cool thing to continue to do, and the opening nights are just an absolute blast because you kind of just play games really on the opening night carpets, and it's more like a TikTok-y thing and more so than a traditional episode.
Yeah, I mean, a good example of that would be How to Dance in Ohio. It deserved much more of a longer run, and stuff happened and it closed much earlier than it should have, for sure.
Absolutely. And I had the director of the show on my podcast, and she talked about just what that experience was like and bringing it to life in Syracuse and then bringing it to Broadway. And it was just such a shame to not, like, I was fortunate enough to see the show, and it was such a shame that enough people didn't get to see that show because of the short run that it had, because not a lot of people were buying ticket, not enough people were buying tickets to sustain the amount of money that was being put into it every week.
Yeah, that's something that needs to be a little up improved, especially nowadays with how many shows opening.
Absolutely. And it's tough because Broadway's getting so expensive, like for theater goers, these ticket prices are no joke. And performers definitely realize that and understand that it may not be helping their life cycle of their show on Broadway. But at the end of the day, like this is a business and people are trying to make money too. So it's a tricky thing to balance.
But I mean, that also has stuff to do with the cost of the theater as well, because theaters are also so much event. That's why a lot of shows nowadays are doing test runs in Broadway theaters.
Oh, absolutely. Theaters are becoming so expensive. Everything, inflation. I mean, everything's so expensive nowadays. So, like, set pieces are more expensive, props are more expensive. Like everything that goes into a show is becoming more expensive. Clothes, fabric, all of this, makeup. It's just there's so much that goes into these shows that some people don't realize, and if they do realize, it's still hard to be able because to spend that much on a show. So it's definitely not like the performer's fault by any means. It's just the reality of our economy that continues
I
to.
mean, you look into shows like some smaller shows that have smaller sets, they're doing a little better than bigger shows because, especially with bigger shows nowadays, you look at The Outsider and The Notebook, they have rain on stage, and the rain is not an easy cost, especially to get it on an inside theater in a uh, closed environment. So,
You're absolutely right. And it's interesting because if you really dissect it and boil it down, there are theaters on Broadway that have a higher success rate of producing a successful show because of the smaller theaters can continue to sell out at their shows. So they're more in demand and there's not as many empty seats at night in order to um, strategize it in a way that you're making your money back at the end of the day. So those smaller theaters where you have a smaller set, although you have a smaller audience, you still can sell it out so that in the long run you can continue to sell it out across multiple months and not just the first couple weeks on Broadway, and then it's trickier to continue to keep the house full.
yeah, that's for sure. And so, what is the best part about being in a original Broadway cast or an original Broadway tour since you've done a few?
Yes. I think just creating something, especially like Trevor for me was my favorite, even though that wasn't like an original Broadway cast or original tour or anything like that. It was an experience that because I was the lead, like it was the first time that like I felt like I was creating something, and in a way, it stemmed through me. So, like, people were creating off of me and my choices and what I was doing. Obviously, like a show like Finding Neverland, although I played Peter and that was a pivotal role, we were creating off of Matthew and making sure that, like, how can we complement Matthew? And then, of course, Laura Michelle Kelly, who was our mother, and stuff like that. So, and of course, like as a kid too, it's tricky to, come into this industry and just be okay with like playing. It's a little intimidating, right? So you kind of get a little shy and you're not fully, you don't fully take the reins in the ways that, maybe you would as an adult. And it's nothing against like the industry standards or making someone making me feel that way or anything. That's kind of just like just a kid thing to do. We don't realize it. And so Trevor, once I had these shows under my belt, I felt like, I was able and I felt like I was capable enough to actually, take hold and discuss with the director of like, hey, what if we change this? That was the first time that I really had those types of conversation where everywhere else I was kind of like, okay, tell me what to do. I'm going to stand in the spot and I'm going to do good and I'm going to smile and make sure that you're okay and no one gets hurt. Like that was sort of the thing. So it's a tricky balance, but just creating something to from the paper to life, I think is the most exciting thing.
That's awesome. And so, what advice would you give to younger actors who want to pursue a career in theater?
Honestly, I mean, there's the cliche of like be yourself and bring yourself to every role that you do. And that is definitely something that I stand by and continue to try to remind myself, as I feel like I oftentimes don't allow myself to come through in my characters because I'm so focused on just doing the character. Um, but it's okay to showcase yourself and your own talents and bringing that to the role, even if it's not something that's like originally scripted, and just trying it, making those strong choices that maybe people never thought about. But the other thing is like, don't think, like, be fearless. Um, be like, just try, like, play. That was the thing that like made me have so much fun and I feel like be so successful as a kid, was that I was allowing myself to play. And nowadays I'm so caught up in my head of like, oh, what are people going to think if I do this? Or what if I try this and it fails? Like, that's okay. Like, that's the point of the rehearsal process. You're supposed to try things. And then through a course of a run, you can continue to try things. And so I think just being fearless and just making those strong choices are definitely something that I want to, shout out for young performers.
That's awesome. And so that wraps up the question portion. And now we're gonna do a guess the lyric. I found your resume, and so I found some shows you were in. And so we're gonna do a little guess the lyric of different shows that you've been in.
Oh dear. Okay,
Yeah.
let's do it.
And some of these, since some of these are from Trevor, I actually had Holden on my podcast, and so some of these are the ones I asked him too. So
Oh, hilarious. I love it.
yeah, and so the first part is going to be from Finding Neverland, and so
Okay.
uh, this one I don't know the song. I found these online, but it's sung. You say boring, just like other nannies.
Thinking parks are good for us.
Yes,
That's Mary Poppins, I think.
it is.
Oh, good.
Yes, it is Mary
Amazing.
Poppins. Yes, for some reason I was thinking Find Neverland because I saw Michael in the title, and so
Oh, you're so good. That's
yeah,
hilarious. That's
that
a good
is
one.
Mary Poppins. Yes. All right, and now we have Trevor the musical, and this is I'm not gonna say the song, but extra points if you can guess the song. Uh, like it sometimes always is.
Oh, this has to be on this show.
It's
On with the
not.
show. It's not like it sometimes always is.
This is
Shoot.
towards the end of the show.
Was it wrong?
It's Do you want me to tell you the lyric then?
Yeah, because
So
I
it's
think this is a
like it
okay.
sometimes always is. Was I hearing my own story when I heard him telling his? It's from imagination.
Oh, imagination. That was the okay. So they changed it from when I did it in Chicago, and so that
Oh,
was not imagination wasn't in the show when I did it.
oh, okay.
Um, yeah. But shoot, I should have known that still because I did see it multiple times. I'm so mad.
All
Good
right.
one.
So
Good. You
this
stumped
one
me.
is also from Trevor. In another 10 years, I'll still be looking back.
At the talent show that turned my life around at last. Is that right?
That made my golden dreams come true. At the talent show that made my golden
Ah,
dreams come true.
wrong verse. Shoot. Okay.
And so this one is from Christmas Story.
Oh, okay.
And so this one is you don't need a steed to be a cowboy. No, you're not a hero just by galloping off in the sun.
What you really need to be a cowboy, fearless, keeping bandits, trembling on the run is a Red Rider Carbine action BB-gun.
Yes,
Oh my god. Slay. That used to be my audition song after I did the show. I was like, I'm keeping it.
that's awesome. And so this one's also from Christmas Story. But this year, don't need another plaid tie. This year,
Another bad time this year. I want something to get by. Is that I want
I want to
uh,
I want a gift my parents won't spy, and I'm running out of time.
oh yes, I want a gift my parents won't buy. Shoot, you're stumping me. This is good. This is great.
And so this one is from Trevor. But I won't let TV be as far as I see.
Wait, can you repeat that one more time?
But I won't let TV be as far as I see.
I don't know this one.
This is from the opening number, so if that helps.
Is it? I won't let TV. I don't think I had this lyric.
So, oh, it's but I won't let TV be as far as I see, because my future won't fit on a little screen.
Yeah, no, I didn't have that one. Shoot. Sorry.
Wow, it's changed so much then. Like,
Oh, so much.
yeah,
Well, they had about 4 or 5 years in between productions. So they had some time to make those rewrites.
yeah, for sure. And so this one is, I want to say, I'm not sure because I looked it up this morning, and so I'm still trying. I don't know what show this is from. But standing still, the habit that you gotta learn to break.
Standing still's a habit you got to learn to break. Oh, sugar. I feel like I'm gonna regret not knowing this one. Um, I want to stand still. Say it one more time.
Standing still, the habit that you've gotta learn to break.
Oh my God, I feel like I know this too. This is so bad. Tell me, tell me.
It comes from overthinking every move you ever make, but it's the music. But the music's gonna tell you each and every step to take.
Shoot. I definitely knew that one. Oh my God. I'm embarrassed.
And so,
I'm doing very poorly at your game. I apologize.
and so I don't know with how much Trevor's changed. I found the script online, so this probably might not be in it. Uh, that's my mom and dad. That's my mom and dad. The relationship with the television is out of hand.
Yeah, it's something because they're watching the politician. Oh, I can't even remember his name. Um Shoot.
So it's uh
Ronald Reagan was shot like a week ago. Is that
so
one?
so the lyric is I don't think they would care if I stopped breathing air unless some guy on the news said it was so.
Oh God.
That was the thing.
Still
So
Oh, that was the one? Oh,
no,
oh
no,
shoot.
that's
You're
the
finishing
answer.
for me. Oh, great. Oh, I'm so bad at this.
And so that wraps up the interview. I'd like to thank you for joining me today.